Stand by. One, two, three. One, two, three. One, two, three. One, two, three. Nicely done.
Not sure what's so hard about that.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian McCollum, and today we're taking a look at a rifle that is not so much a forgotten weapon as a just right now being introduced weapon, and that is the What Would Stoner Do CDR, or Civil Defense Rifle. This is, in effect, sort of the economy version of the What Would Stoner Do 2020. While Brownells and KE Arms are in the process of trying to source all of the myriad specialty components, in particular carbon fiber handguard tubes for those rifles, they decided to put out sort of the economy version. The idea being, what are the really expensive elements in a What Would Stoner Do that are, for lack of a better term, sort of the luxury items, the items where there is a less expensive alternative that doesn't fundamentally change any of the aspects of the rifle. And so that's what they have come up with here, coming up with a gun that is about 30%, 35% less expensive, while still fundamentally fulfilling the same overall goals, albeit not quite to the extent that the 2020 does. So let me show you this, because as a compromise goes, I think it's really a pretty good one. So a basic features overview. Of course, the core component of this is a KP15 monolithic polymer receiver. That means that the buttstock, the pistol grip, and the lower receiver are all one integrated component. There is no separate buffer tube on it. There is no castle nut required. There's no pistol grip screw, because that's all built in together. One of the nice things about that is being molded out of polymer. It was no added expense, essentially, to include a slightly flared magazine well, which is a nice little sort of premium addition there. This has attachment points for a couple of different types of slings. This is an M-lock slot, so you can put in a sling swivel there, or you can just thread a sling straight through the stock. These are mirrored on both sides. So you can wrap a stock around here or put on whatever sort of sling connection point you like. If you want a QD socket, there is there is a socket for a QD socket here just behind the pistol grip. Control-wise, this has basically standard AR-15 controls. Magazine release on the right. We have our bolt hold open lever on the left. These are not mirrored components like on the What Would Stoner Do 2020, because there are significant cost elements in that. So the PDQ lever that we use on the 2020 rifle is under patent by its manufacturer, and so it's an expensive part because it can't be made in a generic form. They have to be purchased from that company. The one ambidextrous control that is here is the safety selector. This is actually part of, or is attached to, KE Arms DMR trigger, their designated marksman's trigger, which is an adjustable, fundamentally mil-spec style trigger, but one that is capable of a much better trigger pull than a standard generic GI trigger. However, it is not the fully self-contained SLT or Rekluse trigger. So offers some benefits, but there is also a cost savings of not having the highest end, fanciest trigger, but it is still a really nice trigger press on there. The safety, by the way, can be set for either a 45 or a 90-degree throw. I personally like 45, so that's how this one's set up. I should also mention that in the interests of economy, this has a standard flat, solid butt plate instead of having the trapdoor option that the What Would Stoner Do 2020 does. Externally, the most obvious difference is, of course, the handguard. Instead of being carbon fiber, this is a skeletonized, lightweight aluminum handguard. It uses an aluminum barrel nut with a steel jam nut, so a little bit of weight savings there. This is not quite as light as the carbon fiber assembly on the What Would Stoner Do 2020 rifle, but it's pretty darn close. And there's a lot of elements here of if we can subtract a few dollars here and there on every element of the rifle, because this is a factory and then wholesaler and then retailer thing, every dollar taken out of the gun at the production level is magnified by the time it gets to its final MSRP. So every little dollar helps, and this definitely takes out a huge cost. The carbon fiber tube is a very expensive component. The barrel on the CDR, however, is the same Faxon pencil profile 16-inch barrel that we use on the What Would Stoner Do 2020. It is also equipped with a standard birdcage A2 flash hider. The barrel is 16 inches, so the flash hider can be removed. You can put on whatever you like out there. The A2 birdcage is a very effective, economical muzzle device. There's no necessary reason to get rid of it, but if you have your own favorite, or if you have something specifically for attaching a suppressor, it can be replaced easily and without any legal issue. Again, with economy in mind, the ambidextrous charging handle has been replaced with a simple extended standard charging handle. One of the other substantial changes was to get rid of the JP silent capture spring system, which I really like, but it is again a part that is manufactured by a single source company. It is expensive to obtain, and a standard buffer and spring are far less expensive. So swapping them in gives us close to the same performance with a significant reduction in cost. So you can see that we have a retaining pin in here. You don't need that in fact, it isn't in a What Would Stoner Do 2020 because the self-contained nature of the JP spring doesn't require it, but it is there for the CDR. You can see the blue down in there, that's KE Arms DMR trigger. And you can see the bolt here, without even needing to take it out, is just a standard AR-15 style bolt and bolt carrier. It doesn't have the chrome plating that we used on the 2020 rifle. So again, a little bit of a cost savings there. Well, that's the CDR in a nutshell. You basically get rid of a lot of the ambidextrous controls and a few of the luxury flares like the carbon fiber, and you're left with a rifle that still has the same basic handling and performance as the 2020. All right, let's take one of these guys out on the range. I took this to one of the two-gun matches here in Tucson. Specifically, this was a Fallout-themed match that did not allow any electro-optical sights. So I have one of these set up with iron sights. Actually, it's Karl's rifle that he loaned me for the match. Let's see how it handles.
Sense if you're shooting a 300 meter known distance wall.
Stand by.
And that's it. And it's from the prone or the fucking
One.
D-leg.
2, 3, 4. One, 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 2, 3, 4. Magazine. Bottom plate. Hit. Yep. One, 2, 3, 4. Nicely done.
Woo! That worked really well. A light handling rifle, good iron sights, nice aperture irons.
I ended up taking third place overall in the match, which is pretty awesome, and I'm obviously very happy with. As for the rifle, hard to find that much to complain about with it, really. It is just a skosh heavier than the What Would Stoner Do 2020, in part because of the aluminum handguard as well as a few of the other components. Comes in at 5.11 pounds stripped like this, which is still, I think, fantastic. The handguard does get hot faster than the carbon fiber that we have on the What Would Stoner Do rifle. That's part of the reason we liked the carbon fiber in the first place, whether it's heat from shooting or just heat from leaving your rifle out in the sun in a place like the southern Arizona desert. The carbon fiber just doesn't heat up very fast, and the aluminum definitely does. Now, there are options to take care of that. A good one, for example, is Brownells SHTF wrap. That, of course, you know what that stands for. That stands for Stop Heat Transfer, which is just a handy wrap to go over an aluminum handguard. It's basically just a layer of insulating material, some Velcro, wrap it around, snug it down, and there you go. One heat resistant or cold resistant, if you're up in the Great Northern Wastes, wrap on a handguard. Beyond that, you do lose some of the ambidextrous characteristics, but you do keep the ambidextrous safety, which is, I think, the most important of them. That allows a left-hander like me to be able to easily engage and disengage the safety without breaking a firing grip, as I was doing between positions in the match. So that's cool. The standard buffer and spring are not quite as nice as the JP Capture spring that we have in the What Would Stoner Do. It's a subtle difference, but it is a noticeable difference. You do get a little bit softer recoil. It's a little hard to quantify, but you really do get a more pleasant shooting experience with that JP Capture spring than you do with a traditional one. Does that fundamentally change the rifle? No, not really. So I think this is a pretty cool compromise solution. I know a lot of people have been building rifles like this on KP15 lowers because of the inaccessibility of carbon fiber these days. So I think it's pretty cool that Brownells decided to get in on that and offer the civil defense rifle variation themselves. Now, if you're interested in this, you can find it over on Brownells' website. Just search for WWSD and you'll get all of the various elements, all their components related to the What Would Stoner Do project, which of course includes the civil defense rifle here. So hopefully you guys will indulge me for a video on something a bit more modern today. Obviously, I've been involved in this project for more than a few years now, and it kind of feels partly like my baby. So I wanted to share it with you guys. Thanks for watching.